Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build. This time, a Stamina Dragon Knight. You guys know how much I love Dragon Knights. This build is a triple elemental threat. It's visually stunning, but you know I can't just stop there. It's got to be efficient. Take a look at the stat screen. Huge health and stamina numbers to go together. Almost 5,000 weapon damage. Look at the resistances, almost 30k. And the recoveries are great. We are using Smoked Bear Haunch. We want all of those recoveries and that max health buff there, pushing us to 30k. The Serpent, stamina recovery by 338. We are almost at 3,000 stamina recovery on this build. It's insane how you can have so many good numbers cross category. We're an Orc. We want that extra max stam, giving us another 1,000, helping us reach that 30k mark. Unflinching Rage, max health 1,000. When you deal damage, you heal for almost 2,200 health every 4 seconds. And then Swift Warrior, weapon and spell damage, 258. Reduce the cost to sprint and movement speed by 10%. So helping us to have a lot of mobility on this build. It's a lot of fun, and we're going to break it down. The first 5-piece sets, Aurorans. We're using Aurorans Maul. Nirnhoned, we transmuted it. Max health, weapon and spell damage, offensive penetration. The 5th trait now, dealing direct damage to a target within 10 meters, summons a cone of lightning from your chest for 5 seconds, dealing 2,200 shock damage every 1 second. 0 is the first tick, so it's 6 total ticks of damage. You'll see them as the orange numbers. I had to get rid of the monster set shock there. We're looking at the orange numbers there at the waist. So that is Auroran's Thunder. It's a cone. Anybody in front of you will get that damage. The first lightning proc was actually not Auroran's Thunder. It's the next set we're going to talk about. Lady Maligda's Guise. We got it well fitted, and it's stamina glyph on it, and buffing up here to show you the true tooltip of the monster set. First trait, offensive penetration. When you deal direct damage to a target within 12 meters, create a 5-meter area that after 1 second moves forward and then moves back through the area, dealing 40, almost 300 shock damage to all enemies, and also giving them minor innovation, reducing their critical damage by 10%. So that's helpful in PvP, just a nice group AoE debuff, and it looks cool. And both the Auroran's Thunder and Lady Maligda's Guise will come out at the same time upon impact with 1 Stampede or 1 direct damage attack at close range. Here we go, I'm buffing up. As I lunge in, you can see both of them. One moves forward and back, and Auroran's Thunder out of my chest. Visually impressive, so cool. And anyway, if you don't have that set, you can use Storm Fist. By the way, it's a good, easy alternative. Next 5-piece set, Hrothgars. We're using the Curious. It's max health, armor, and then offensive penetration you see is toggled off, but we'll get that 4th and 5th trait when we toggle our bars. 5th trait, snaring or immobilizing your enemy, causes them to burst with frost magic, applies the chilled status effect, and deals 13% of the total of their physical and spell resistance, the sum of those numbers, to them and all enemies around them. And it actually will cheat through and pierce through, ignoring the resistances with the damage. Snow Treaders is our mythic item. I've got it divines on this build. While you are in combat, you are immune to snares and immobilizations that can be cleansed. You can't sprint, but you also cannot be immobilized, slowed down, snared. You can be stunned, knocked down, or feared, since those are hard CCs, but any of the immobilizations, see the frosty snowflakes on my feet? So that means it's active. The necklace we have is Auroran's Thunder's necklace. We transmuted it to Stamina Robust because it was a light and a magicka. We have Ring of the Trainee, Stamina, and we get that max health 1-piece bonus. We do have 1 ring or 1 room, 1 piece for room of this on the build, but if you want that penetration of Hrothgars, the 4th piece, to be on at all times in place of that health from the trainee, just slot the 4th piece, the Ring of Hrothgar, and you'll get that penetration. You see it's 11,000 now at all times. We were just under 10 before that on our two-handed maul, but when you put the Hrothgar ring, the 4th piece, in place of the trainee, you take that 1,000 health off and you get that penetration instead. But right now, we're going to run 3 on our body, and that's because on our bow, we are using the Hrothgar's bow. We get that 4th and 5th piece on that bar, and it's awesome. We got it sharpened. We also have a Berserker glyph on there for that extra weapon and spell damage buff. But when we switch to this bar, which you'll see when I get to the skills section, we have the talons, the immobilize on that bar. So it hits them with that flame, it immobilizes them, and also the Hrothgar's ice damage is going to hit everybody in that area simultaneously. So we got frost, flame, and shock on this build, and nice wintry boots. Okay, on this bit here, I'm going to show you guys another alternative setup that we can use on this to take the elemental triple threat even further. Vadishrand's lightning staff comes out of Vadishrand's hollow. We transmuted it to Nirnhone. You're going to put this in place of the Hrothgar bow. We're going to take the bow off. We're going to put Hrothgar 5-piece on our body at all times, never toggling off. That means we got to take off the ring of the trainee and the boots of Snow Treader. We don't have room for them. But if we go this route, casting weakness of elements to a target within 15 minutes, basically you cause a tether to be tangled between you and the enemy, and they take frost, flame, or shock damage every second for 10 seconds, and it increases the damage for each second that it's tethered. Elemental susceptibility is the skill we're using to proc this Vadishrand lightning staff. It's going to give the enemy major breach, and it's going to give them a random status effect. Now, we have to slot this somewhere, so I'd recommend putting it in place of maybe Stone Giant, not Green Dragon Blood, and we'll get into that in just a minute when we talk about skills. So there is the tether. It's the line between him and I. Flame, frost, and shock damage was happening every second. What you see around the enemy is the skill Elemental Susceptibility. That deals damage and gives them a status effect. But this tether will increase in damage every second that it's on and active. And it's just really cool. It's a great way to stay locked on and just deal even more damage over time. Let's talk about skills now. First skill, Dizzying Swing. We're on the 2-handed bar. 10,000 physical damage, sets them off balance. If you hit them again, they are then stunned for 2 seconds. This number could crit, obviously. There's not a lot of builds I use that are 2-handed that don't have Dizzying Swing on them. You can see he's off balance now. And then, of course, you saw the monster set and Aurorans Thunder also proc off of it. Next skill, Flames of Oblivion. I feel like this skill is irreplaceable on this build. Activate an aura of flames, 3 fireballs, shoot out every 5 seconds, dealing 7,200 flame damage. But while it's slotted, you get Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, increasing your critical chance. So we have this on our front bar, our 2-handed bar. So even when the ball is, not casted, look, we can spam it too, by the way, and it goes 3 directions. You're always going to get that high crit on your 2-handed bar, which is where we spend most of our time, by the way. And we'll get into that as well later. Next skill, Stampede. It's our gap closer. 5621 physical damage, always crits. And then when you reach the target, everybody takes damage because it's an AoE, and it leaves a AoE in the ground. There you can see I lunged on in. There's Aurorans is proc, and on the ground, the orange fiery cracking. That's the remnant of Stampede. Next skill, Rally. It costs stamina, it gives us Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing our weapon and spell damage by 20%, but it's also going to give us Minor Endurance, increasing our stamina recovery, and when the time frame is over, we'll get a heal, or if we cast it earlier, we'll get a smaller heal. This is an option because you could use Molten Armaments in place of Rally, but you're not going to get that heal, and you're not going to get that Minor Endurance, which is going to increase our stamina recovery. But you will get that Minor Brutality we'll talk about in just a second. Next skill, it's the Physical and Spell Resistance Volatile Armor, which increases our armor by 6,000 almost. Releases a spray of flame spikes around you, which you can see on the Atronach right now burning. And also, while we take direct damage, returns some flame damage back to the attacker. So that's the morph we went with for our Physical and Spell Resistance. Now, the ultimate, Ferocious Leap. We got almost 18,000 flame damage, knocks the enemy down. It's a gap closer. It stuns them And also you gain a damage shield because our health is so high. It's almost 32,000 point damage shield. It's going to completely fill our damage shield, or our health bar up with a damage shield. If you look here, the whole thing is frosty. So it's just a great table turning ultimate. And of course, as a Dragon Knight, you will restore ultimates, resources, sorry, for the cost of the ultimate. The next bar, Stone Giant. This is our bow bar. Physical damage around you when you cast it. It's a big AoE when you stomp. You end up with 3 balls. You can shoot the magma balls outward, dealing over 8,000 each time. The third one will end up stunning them and knocking them down. This also can sometimes proc Hrothgars, because a stun will proc Hrothgars, and we will be on our bow bar. As you can see, there's the 3 balls. I stomped, it gathered them, and I threw them. This one, there's the balls. They're floating around, and that also gives me minor brutality. As a passive. Resolving Vigor is our next skill. 20,000 health over 5 seconds, but it's also going to give us minor resolve and minor ward. Well, minor resolve, which is 3,000 physical and spell resistance. So we're getting major and minor on this build, so our resistances are 28, almost 29. The next skill, Flame Lash. This is going to deal 8,500 flame damage, but it's going to deal more. We're hoping we can get that Power Lash on the bottom there. 10,000 flame damage and healing for 9,600 health. And it's a normal Flame Lash here where I don't spin or flip, but Power Lash is going to flip and deal more damage. And how we get that is with an immobilization skill, which we have slotted on our right bumper on our bow bar, Talons, which we will get to. And they work great because it's a heal, it's cheap, and it's very powerful. The next skill, Green Dragon Blood. It costs magicka. We wanted a heal that costed magicka. 34% of your missing health, but while also it's active, you get major endurance and minor fortitude and minor vitality, which is going to increase our stamina recovery, our health recovery, and our healing taken. So it's just a great burst to heal. The lower health you are, the bigger the burst of health chunk you're going to get back when you cast it. Burning Talons. We need this on this build. 7,000 flame damage up front, 6,000, almost 7,000 flame damage over time. It immobilizes them, offers a synergy to your allies, but while they're immobilized, it allows Flame Lash to become Power Lash, guaranteed, and you're going to deal insane damage and also heal at the same time. But also, the Talons are going to proc what I usually use to proc Hrothgars. The next skill, Corrosive Armor. I know we've all seen way too much of this in PvP. I'm so sick of it being on the other end of it. It lasts 12 seconds. All damage only amounts to 3% of your max health, which makes you basically unkillable. You deal poison damage around you, and everything that you do that is that is direct damage basically carves through the enemy resistances as if they have none. As you can see, I'm using it now, and the numbers are a lot bigger, even the non-crit numbers. The Atronach is basically naked, while at the same time, everything I take is only 3% of my max health. It's definitely broken. Let's talk about the champion point screen now. Jumping right into the blue this time, Biting Aura, increase our damage with area of effect attacks by 6%. That's pretty much everything we do. Wrathful Strikes, 205 weapon and spell damage to all of our damaging abilities. Endless Endurance increases our max stamina by 1,300. And the last one is Untamed Aggression, increasing weapon and spell damage by 150 at all times. That's really going to buff up our damage output. You could, if you wanted to, do the Master at Arms, increasing the direct damage attacks by 6% in place of the one that is called Wrathful Strikes, if you wanted to. Okay, the red tree now. We are going with Boundless Vitality, increasing our max health by 1,400. That helps us get to that 30,000 point threshold I like to see on this build. Fortified, increasing our physical and spell resistance by 1,700. We almost had 30k on that as well. Rejuvenation, 90 health, magicka, and stamina recovery at all times, and then sustained by suffering, 150 magicka health and stamina recovery when under the effect of a negative effect, which is constantly in PvP. Well, that's going to wrap up the CP distribution section and wrap up this build video, the Knight of Spellscar build. If you like this build and you want to see more, head on over to my channel. I've got plenty more on there, something for everybody, all roles. And like, comment, share, please subscribe. Let me know what you would do differently on this build. As always, thanks for watching. Area of Effect, signing out.